I hear a local train along the valley. And there goes the 250, think I to myself, aware that somehow its habitual travelling comforts me, making my world seem safer, homelier, sure to be the same tomorrow, and the same, one hopes, next year. There's peacetime in that train. One hears it disappear with needless warning whistle and rail resounding wheels. That train's quite like an old familiar friend, one feels. By the time the Midland Railway was running its express trains from London St Pancras to Manchester Central, their route ran via Ambergate and Matlock before heading through the Peak District. Yet it wasn't always so. Battles with the London North Western Railway meant, for a while, an alternative mainline route from Derby to Roseley was considered, via Wirksworth. But it didn't transpire. The LNWR eventually gave up its share of the Ambergate route, and so the Midlands main line ran via Matlock, and the branch from Duffield to Wirksworth, opened in 1867, became just that, a branch. Unlike many rural branch lines, the Wirksworth branch survived the Beeching cuts, thanks to substantial mineral traffic, but by the early 1990s that had gone too, and the Wirksworth branch was hanging by a thread. Things were not looking good, and track lifting seemed inevitable, and in fact, the line had had a near-death experience in 1990, when track lifting train began to lift approximately 1 mile of continuously welded track between Idridge and Shottle. Fortunately, the work was stopped by BR, as it was reported that there was the possibility of new stone traffic on the line. That didn't come to pass, however, and the infrastructure was beginning to deteriorate. However, all was not lost. On the 2nd of October 1992, a company called WyvernRail was registered, and in February 93 held its first board meeting in a room at Cromford Station used by the local scout troop. Its founders came from the worlds of BR management and railway restoration. The task was immense. Over a decade's disuse had left the line heavily overgrown, suffering from encroachment, drains and watercourses blocked, and a general air of decay. But the dual approach of negotiation and restoration worked. WyvernRail became a PLC with a successful share launch taking place in April 2002. The line was acquired from Railtrack and then opened in stages, with the full service between Duffield and Wirksworth operating from April 2011. On the day Green Signals visited the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway in September 24, we were welcomed by Neil Ferguson-Lee, chairman of WyvernRail plc, and one of the driving forces behind the saving and restoration of the line, together with colleagues from both WyvernRail plc and the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway Association. We boarded a single-car DMU for a service down to Duffield, and Neil spoke a little bit about some of the financial challenges facing heritage lines in 2024.
It's very easy to fall into the trap of saying, it's a heritage railway, they don't make money, so we won't worry about it. Problem is...
madness that way.
Yeah, in the real world, you've still got to pay your bills. And not only that, you've got to somehow build some kind of a fund. Now, my view is, for what little it's worth, the railway has to be able to wash its face operationally. So as I say, for us, it's about $4,000 a day for us to cover.
Is that with a DMU or a steam engine?
No, it's a really crude measure. This is straightforward. Our operating costs are X. We run for Y days a year. Therefore, X divided by Y.
Well, even $4,000 a year is quite a lot of fares, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is. Now, some days in the high season, we'll smash that absolutely out the park. On a day like today, we will not cover that. But
as long as the averages are right.
As long as it averages out, that's absolutely fine. The issue you have is infrastructure and capital development. So what we've got to try and do is to build a separate fund, which we don't have at the moment, so we've got something that we can dig into. Not so much for the disaster type situations, but for the ongoing upkeep. We've just completed our own in-house survey of all the structures on the line, Again, fortunately, with us being close to Derby, we have people who are or have been in the rail industry.
Got the professional skills.
So we've got the professional skills, and therefore we're able to do a lot of our own surveys. And so much of the work we need to do falls into the category of saving the ship for a pennyworth of tar. In other words, if you go and point that bridge, it'll be good for another 50 years. If you don't point it, something nasty is going to happen within a few years' time. Most of the track on this line came from the Matlock to Buxton line in the early 70s. So that means that track is probably 80 years old now. Some of it's in great fettle, others not so bad. We're going over concrete sleepered section at the moment.
Is this, because when I did those driving turns here, when we had 78019 here, there was one section line which your own guys referred to as HS3.
Oh, well, yeah. That's probably this bit.
Yeah.
But we also have
feels like it.
Yeah, this is really smooth. Now, this did have CWR on it until there's a derailment, I think at Troll Junction in the early 90s. So they nicked the rail and replaced it with some absolutely knackered old rail. But at least they left rail to replace it. So in our earliest days, we plopped it all back in place. And it ain't brilliant, but as you can tell, it's quite smooth.
It feels better than a lot of the rest of the line.
It's lovely. Now, the other thing is, we've recently taken on a new permanent way manager who's ex-Network Rail. And he lives locally, and he's an incredibly sort of proactive...
So he does a lot of patrolling, does he?
A lot of patrolling, and now we're addressing things like dipped rail joints, stuff like that. And gradually, we've got to make sure that we gradually improve the quality of the infrastructure. You start off just wanting to reopen the line, and that's all you want to do. But then from there, you've now got this asset that is quietly fizzing and rusting and rotting away, and you've now got to start thinking about how do we keep this going.
One of the most significant challenges the line has faced since being reopened was a serious landslip that took place in 2023 at Duffield. The collapse of a retaining wall was caused by substantial volumes of water flowing downhill and saturating the clay at the top of the slope on which the wall foundation stood. The fix required strengthening works and the slewing of the track alignment at the foot of the affected section. It took 7 months to complete and reopened in June 2024, not least thanks to an anonymous donation of £10,000. We passed the affected area at slow speed as remedial works to bank and the property above are still ongoing. And after passing through the short tunnel in Duffield, we arrive at the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway's platform at Duffield Station, a station shared with East Midlands Railway, and from where connections can be made for services to Derby and stations to Matlock travelling north. As if to prove this is mainline territory, the Colas Rail Class 70 passes light engine at speed. I take the opportunity of a few moments at Duffield to speak with Steve Orchard, Secretary and Treasurer of the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway Association, about his role in managing the finances of a heritage rail operation. Steve, we've just come down from Wirksworth to Duffield. Terrific trip on a lovely line, but I mean, from a financial point of view, this must be quite a challenge to balance the books. Just give us a sort of sense of what the overall financial picture looks like.
The overall financial picture, I think, probably with the same as most heritage railways, is an ongoing challenge. Let's put it politely that way, because all this stuff is old. the cost of maintenance, the cost of repairs is phenomenal. Getting the money in is always the hardest part. Now, the PLC sells the tickets, they sell the catering, etc. They get the people on the trains, and that generally is structured to pay for itself. So the PLC side of the railway should cover its operational cost. But when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to repairing a train, refurbing a carriage, etc., that's largely when we come in to try and fund different projects.
And how does the cash flow work then? I mean, in terms of, do you have any working capital? Do you have any sort of borrowings at all to actually fund all of that, or do you literally just have to live and die by what you bring in on a weekly, monthly basis?
It's largely like that. We don't have any borrowings at all. It's really on donations, bequests in wills, fundraising of every conceivable way. But the big advantage of having the structure that we've got is that because we're a charity, we can receive donations, financial and other donations, and there are financial advantages to that.
Presumably gift aid. So
gift aid is a big one. That will net us £5,000 a year,
wow, okay.
Based depending on the level of donations. We did a big fundraising GoFundMe page for the landslip, and that netted £30,000, which just about covered the cost of actually sorting out the landslip and slewing the track. But it gave us about another, not all of it was gift aidable, but another £5,000, say, of gift aid on top of the donation. So there are financial advantages to being able to do that. Gift aid being one, the fact that we're a charity, so therefore we're not paying corporation tax. We have a small trading arm, which is the museum, the shop inside the museum. We can claim VAT back, etc., etc. So, but it is really fundraising all the time, donations, both financial and tangible in terms of collections and this kind of thing.
And presumably, you're a trustee, you're directors, you've got fiduciary duties, you've got to kind of manage solvency. So in terms of ongoing solvency, that's presumably something that, I wouldn't say keeps you awake at night, but that's always cash is king, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I suppose, as you look forward 6-12 months, do you have a reasonably confident outlook as long as you manage the costs?
Yes, definitely. We keep quite tight controls over what we do. We are not in a position, we don't want to, and we're not structured whereby we will just give the PLC money. We are there to support the railway for projects and specific projects, not the PLC's 10 grand short this quarter, can you lend us some money? We can't lend them money. But if a project comes up, for instance, the building back at Wirksworth, last year we built a new ash pit for the steam trains. That's the kind of project that we will fund. But clearly we have to be sensible with our cash flow and make sure that we know exactly what we're going to be spending and how and when. So we have proper financial controls in place. Trustees can only spend a small amount on their own account. Anything else has to go to formal meetings to be approved and so on. So we control ourselves, and it's the duty of the trustees. We have to report to the Charities Commission each year what we've spent, how we spent it, where it came from and so on. And you've got to have proper governance in place by way of a proper structured memorandum and articles of association, which all sounds really dry. But it's got to be in writing. It only takes something to go wrong and you've got a problem, or, well, I never said that. Yes, you did. And then you've got...
I suppose the summary of all of that is, yes, it's a heritage asset. It's for people to live and enjoy, but it's still a company. It's still a charitable trust. You have to run it properly.
Yeah, and it's grown to such an extent where it is a business. And it's got to be run like a business. And we have to have things properly structured and properly in writing and agreed. And as I say, it sounds really, really dry, but it's for everybody's protection, really.
Absolutely. We then board the DMU for the ride back to Wirksworth. Past the area where the landslip occurred, where the track has been slewed, and through the stations at Shottle and Idridge. We get to experience the unforgettable sensation of a first-generation diesel multiple unit rattling and swaying along, accompanied by memorable aromas and sounds. Although it's been many years now since the first generation DMUs plied their trade on the National Railway, here it feels like yesterday. The business development side of any heritage railway, such as the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway, is crucially important. Once back at Wirksworth, I have a chance to chat to Donna Taylor, Business Development Officer, about the various initiatives that are underway and planned. Okay, so Donna, your business development lead for the railway. What does that sort of role encompass?
So, in a nutshell, it's trying to bring new business to the railway and think of new ways that we can operate, to bring different events to the railway.
And do you find that is that something that we're in such a beautiful part of the world here?
Absolutely.
Is that tough going, or do you find you've got a relatively sort of not sort of captive market, but a willing market?
We have, but we do so much. We have to try and be a lot of things to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's always there's always a tug of war between what we do. We focus on catering? Do we focus on family-friendly events? Do we focus on the railway enthusiast? So we have to be a lot of things to a lot of people, and that's a bit of a struggle to find that balance, to keep people coming through the doors, to keep bums on seats, but also to keep the revenue stream going as well.
And have you found that maybe a little harder sort of post-COVID, with perhaps obviously inflation's been quite high, people are having to be more careful about their disposable income, or has it always been sort of a challenge? It's just maybe just got a bit of a bigger one.
Yes, it has always been a challenge. I think people come out, especially families, and they've got so much money in their pocket, and that's it.
Yeah.
They haven't got anything else to spend. So it's trying to really get them to spend all of that money with us.
With you.
Yeah.
And do you find, I've always been fascinated about people, do you find that people come from the local area, or do they travel to come here?
They travel. We don't get a lot of locals. We've found we have this year launched a residence pass to try and get the local community more involved with the railway.
Oh, is that so? If you live in the area, do you get a discount or something?
Yes, so if you live within the locality of the railway as a whole, from Wirksworth right down to Duffield, you're eligible for a residence pass that gives you a £5 ticket. So you can have a ride for £5 and bring your children for free.
Oh, that's a fantastic. And has that been well taken up as an initiative?
Absolutely, it's been huge. We've had a huge response to it. It's been great.
That's fantastic. Oh, and so we're sort of talking now in sort of mid-September. We're coming towards the Christmas season. Presumably that is a big money earner, is it, with Santa specials?
Massive,
and that? Yeah,
massive.
What sort of planning and advertising do you do for that? Do you just like sort of carpet every house you can think of? So.
Yes, we do. Yes, it's a massive event. It's what keeps us going through the close season, and these events can put you on the map and get people to come back during the rest of the season. We start planning, more or less as soon as we've finished the last one. We never stop talking about Christmas. And then, just trying to target. There's a lot of advertising on social media for Christmas. We find that's the best channel.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with all of that, and with continuing to sort of develop what is it's a really lovely railway. So,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This may be a heritage railway reliant on volunteers in many ways, but a professional approach to people is just as essential as it is in a large organisation. I spoke with Peter Binks, Personnel Director, to understand what is involved. So Peter, your role is Personnel Director of WyvernRail, which is the PLC. What does that role encompass in the context of the railway then?
Well, first of all, the WyvernRail employ, I think it's 5 people, and it's very important that the employees are properly treated in terms of modern day employment law and everything else. When I first started, contracts of employment were virtually non-existent. And I don't say that critically because that's how it is with a small company. But they're all bang up to date now. Not only bang up to date in terms of the techie side of it, but also with my 40 years experience, and I can build in certain things into the contracts for employment which aren't legally necessary, but can be quite important.
Can be quite useful.
Yes.
And in terms of the volunteer group
Yes.
then, because presumably there's a very significant number of volunteers as well.
The vast majority of people working on the railway are volunteers.
Yeah.
And although they're not legally employed, we do have a volunteer engagement letter, which binds them towards all the company's policies and procedures.
Right.
So that I really treat everybody the same, actually. For example, the one policy and procedure that we've got, which I really do support 100%, is our dignity at work policy. And it's only right that anybody who works here as an employee or as a volunteer, they can work free of any harassment or anything of that nature. And so the dignity at work policy, we make sure every new volunteer gets a copy of that. I mean, they're all available on hops anyway.
Right.
But I go the extra mile to give it to them because it nails our colours to the mast as to what we expect. And in the unfortunate event of it not quite working, what people can do about it.
A steady income is the lifeblood of a railway such as the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway, and catering for the many special events the railway operates, as well as the important facility of a bustling station cafe, is a crucially important source of cash flow. Sam Weaver is the catering manager of the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway, and Nigel spoke to him about recent investment in onboard facilities and what it could mean for the future of onboard catering on the railway.
So, Sam, this all looks shiny and new.
It is, yeah.
It's pretty impressive in a former carriage luggage area. So tell us about it.
So this started as a very small domestic kitchen, which
Did
was
it?
half the size as it was, which got us by, but it was very domestic. It only had a sink, a water boiler, and a domestic cooker. And we
Hard
could only-
work.
Yeah. A lot of the cooking used to have to be done on the platform, and then it would be carried on board with chafing dishes to keep it hot. So we found a way around it. It wasn't ideal, and it wasn't pretty, because what you were doing was moving the food through a trolley on the platform. Whereas now we've built this and extended it out so we can actually cook on board now, hot hold on board, and serve on board now. So there's none of the buffet stuff going on anymore. So it's revolutionised what we do.
And it's gas, presumably.
Yes. All the appliances are gas, and we've also got a gas generator that sits underneath, and that powers things like the dishwasher and the hot cabinet over there.
So you're not up to your elbows in washing up there?
No, it's fantastic. This can do about 700 plates an hour.
And how many covers can you feed?
100.
100 from in here?
Yeah.
And do you work in here on your own, or do you have help?
No, I have somebody helping me plate up. We generally have somebody, it depends what service we're doing, on pots, and then we'll have many doing drinks and then running food as well. So there's usually about 3 or 4 in the kitchen, give or take, depending where we are in service. Generally only use that for breakfast, for our toast and our bacon and stuff. And then we've got the hot holding cabinet, and that's got in there some plates and soup bowls. So they keep warm in there. And generally on the left side, I put the food, and then food on top as well.
Okay, so you've got, 6 gas rings and a double oven?
Yeah, and it works, it does 100, believe it or not, yeah.
And that's entirely from scratch, all the meat, veg, there's a lot?
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that we get, I try to work with local suppliers. So the meat, for instance, we use a supplier called Owen Taylor's, and they work with farms that actually are on the line. So often or not, depending on what farm they're using, we could be eating beef that you could be looking out the window and seeing its brother. So we couldn't get any more locally sourced. And I tried to keep the cakes and the bakeries are locally sourced, and the vegetables as well.
So the steak you are eating was raised in that field?
Yes. Yeah. You can look out the window and see exactly where it was. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for that, Sam.
No, you're welcome.
Next, we visit the workshops at the north end of Wirksworth Station Yard and speak first to Tait, head of Publicity, about his prized possession, and one of the railway's most important recent VIP guests.
So, Tom, the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway is well known for its DMUs, and I understand this one is in operational order, and although it looks a bit sorry for itself because it's been repainted, but you used to have an interest in this, so tell us about the vehicle.
Well, I did. I used to own this vehicle.
Okay.
It's a Class 119. I think the only one currently in preservation. It ran on the Gatwick line from Reading to also into London.
Okay.
But its main claim to fame was that this unit carried the King when he came to visit the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway. It was restored by some of our young apprentices, lovingly restored. And the King heard about their efforts and he said, well, next time I'm in Derbyshire, I'm going to come down and see the lads. And he did. And it was wonderful. The local school kids were here. And he was surprisingly well briefed about a DMU.
I've heard that said about him before, but he would be a mere prince then, I guess.
He was, but I must admit, he certainly lifted our morale that day. It was lovely to have a royal visitor.
Did you give him a sit in the driving seat?
We did, and I'll let you into a little secret that he didn't want any sugar in his tea. He only wanted honey.
Okay.
And we had to get some locally sourced honey for him for that day.
And I'm sure he was very grateful.
He was.
So this is shortly to go back into service, is it, when it's painted?
It is, yes. And it's been a very reliable DMU. First class, as you can see, standard class, and there was a standard class no smoking in this one as well.
Okay, and with a larger luggage area, I understand, because of the Gatwick stuff.
That's correct, yes. A very large cage, yeah.
Marvellous. Well, thanks for telling us about that. All very interesting. Maybe it'll be running next time we come.
I hope so. It's my pleasure.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Volunteers carry out the most remarkable work at Heritage Railways, and whilst looking around one of the sheds, we bumped into Michael and Hugh, who were carrying out vital restoration work on the axle boxes of one of the railway's carriages.
I'm standing here in the shed at Wirksworth, where all manner of maintenance is going on, and I'm stood here with Michael, who's been here about 10 years as a volunteer.
Yes, that's right.
And Hugh, who's been here 3 days as a volunteer.
3 weeks, but 1 day a week.
Okay, well, so 3 working days.
Yeah.
Okay, so Michael, just tell us a bit about what your involvement is. I understand you're connected with the LMS carriage behind us.
That's right, yes. I served my time at the Derby Coaching Way.
Oh, did you?
So we...
Respect.
I know a bit about this. No, what we're doing here is checking the axle boxes, the bearings, and the journals on the wheels to make sure they're not scored, changing the oil, and changing the pads if necessary.
Make sure we keep the essential lubrication going.
Yeah, that's right.
So they don't get scored.
That's right, yes.
And have you found any scored axles?
Not yet.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
So you must like what you're doing if you're doing it for 10 years.
Well, they're only going down the road 9 miles and 9 miles back, and they don't do more than 25 miles an hour.
Still far enough if your oil film breaks down.
Yeah,
isn't it?
well, we haven't had one yet.
Good.
Yeah.
So, how are you finding it after 3 days working?
Well,
days?
it's fine. It's nice to get my hands dirty. I'm a singing engineer at WyvernRail.
Okay.
So I've been 10 years in the railway anyway. But
So railwaymen doing what they
more on
Yeah,
the
what we
singing side.
in
What we
the
know.
weekend.
So I just
Yes.
like to get my hands dirty and give something back.
Jolly good. And enjoying it?
Oh, yeah.
So when you're sort of checking these things, you'll spin that cover out the way. Presumably you take a bolt out of that hole.
Yeah,
there.
so we take
that bolt's coming
these out
there.
here, yeah.
And then
And then
you lift
this
that,
goes across.
and that's the end of the axle.
And then we've got,
That's the journal.
this is up here, and then you've got the cable plate in the top. Then we need to jack it up to get the weight off so we can pull the sleeve out.
Yeah.
And then this lifts and this comes out as well. And then the mop's underneath,
The oil pads. Yeah.
and that sits down into an oil pan, and then the oil wicks up into the mop to keep it lubricated.
Distributes
while it's
it around the
turning.
axle. Yeah.
Outside the workshop, we caught up again with Neil, chairman of WyvernRail plc, and took the opportunity to talk in more depth about the challenges facing heritage railways in these difficult economic times.
Neil.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
For your sins, you're chairman of the WyvernRail plc.
That's right.
Which owns and operates the railway, which
Yeah.
means that you get all the headaches.
Yeah, that's right. We have the difficult
financial, managerial,
Yeah.
promotional, commercial,
a lot.
whatever.
Yeah,
And of course, the last word is crucial there, isn't it? Commercial. You have to be commercial in today's world.
absolutely.
But how do you go about marrying the often very different interests of the enthusiast volunteers on whom you depend with the commercial drive which you require to keep the bills paid?
The short answer is carefully. We're effectively running a coalition. We're running a coalition of different people, different attitudes, different goals. Ultimately, we're one railway. And I have to remind people that, we are, and this is to quote Martin Miller, our real competitors are not other railways. Our real competitors are Chatsworth, Haddon Hall, B&Q.
Touristy days out.
Yeah, or the telly.
Yeah.
And so...
Or just the sofa on a
Or just
Sunday
the
afternoon.
sofa, that's right. And so therefore, we've got to remember that. We've got to sell ourselves, and we've got to think of ourselves as being essentially in the entertainment industry. To allow that to happen, yes, we need people's passion, but that passion cannot be unconstrained. It has to be focused towards a common goal, and that's very much what we're trying to do.
Do you find difficulties with that? Do you find yourself having to draw on enormous powers of diplomacy and persuasion?
Yes, and occasionally one has to, shall we say, threaten the use of a big stick. And we also have to deal with the fact that adults will sometimes behave like children, but that's part of life, so we just have to roll with it.
Well, people's weaknesses are often the flip side of the strength, so the passion
Yes,
that keeps things going
very
turns
much
into
so.
frustration
Yeah.
when it doesn't go their particular way. And
Very true.
if you're desperately passionate about carriages or locomotives, you think they're the most important things that demand the investment that is limited.
Very much so, and then you feel very sort of upset when you don't get your moment in the sun. The problem is we've got to live up to our commercial obligations, because if we have locomotives and carriages here, we often have to agree to a certain amount of usage in a year. We also need to determine what will bring people through the gates, and also we can't lose sight of the fun. We've got to indulge people's passions as well, but it has to be within the framework that works.
And do you find you manage that most of the time, some of the time, hardly any of the time?
I think probably most of the time. I'm sure other people think differently. The key thing is, as a railway and as a business, we're demonstrating things by making progress. We're steadily increasing our annual turnover. Profitability for heritage railways is always a challenge, but we're managing to wash our faces, and that's the key thing. Now, there's a whole separate discussion about the cost of infrastructure, but the key thing is, if we can make the railway profitable from an operational perspective and have people coming through and visiting because they want to come here as entertainment rather than simply because somebody likes a particular class of locomotive. If we're bringing families here, then we're succeeding, and the results tend to speak for themselves.
Well, it looks like you're succeeding, Neil. This is a Thursday, and you're running the diesel service, and we've seen a good few people around. We had to walk through a full buffet car there.
Indeed.
People nibbling on sandwiches and coffee and their lunches. So
much to my delight, yes.
All that helps. So you reckon that you're on the right trajectory?
I think we are. I think the thing that always worries me is that we could be one step away from disaster. We've had the landslip this year. We've prevailed through that so far. There is always that fear that something else could happen. But that aside, yeah, I think we've got a pretty good product. I think we've got a good mix of what we can offer the public that's improving as well.
So what's your biggest priority oblique challenge? What keeps you awake at night?
Main one is always cash flow, particularly at the moment. The other one is infrastructure.
Okay.
I think the key thing is that we have 27 bridges and another 100 structures. We've recently undertaken a complete review of all the bridges. We know where we stand with them, but there's a maintenance backlog that needs to be addressed.
One of the most delightful features of this particular railway is its truly wonderful shop and museum. Here's Tom Tait again, publicity manager of the railway.
We're here in the fantastic shop and museum at the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway at Wirksworth, and it is a brilliant facility. Loads of books, fantastic display. I do recommend you come and have a potter about in here and spend something. Don't just look at the exhibits. I'm here with Tom. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us on Green Signals. And you look after the railway's publicity and promotions, I understand.
I do, yes.
So a fairly demanding job. It's no use producing a wonderful railway and a product like this if nobody knows about it.
That's right. It's and I think Neil may have already mentioned where we're located means that we've got lots of competing tourist resorts. So it's important that we try and create not just a railway, something like Field of Dreams, that you build it and then people will join it.
People will come.
People will come. We need to try and create an experience for families that people can come out and enjoy the railway, enjoy the ambience, and enjoy the facilities that we have.
And then you want them to come again and tell their friends.
Yes, that's
so
right.
How do you go about that? What sort of channels and techniques do you use to get the word out there?
Well, it is a challenge because the cost of print media has risen exponentially. That, to be honest, we don't feel that's of good value as much now as it used to be. So we've got to look to social media. But the problem with social media is it's unregulated, as you'll know. And we've got to try and ensure that any comments about the railway, no matter good or bad, are dealt with in a timely manner. So we show people that, yes, if you've got any problems at all, if you're not happy about something, that's great. We want to hear about it. We want the opportunity to try and improve. But we also want to ensure that it's a shop window. So we want to ensure that we are promoting the railway in a positive way. We don't get involved in any of the kind of flame wars that, etc.
That's right. So what about local newspapers, radio, TV, the sort of the media in that respect? Do you use them as well? We
do, and we've been very lucky that the local BBC were very supportive during the landslip. So we do have good relationships as well with BBC Radio and independent radio. We try as well to not just to promote the railway, but also promote some human interest stories about our staff. So we try as much as possible to regularly send press releases about the railway, so it keeps the railway in people's consciousness.
So when they're at home with thinking, what can we do this sunny afternoon or Sunday afternoon, or they think, let's go to Ecclesbourne.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good stuff. Well, good luck. More power to your elbow. It's a never-ending task, isn't it?
It is.
And do come and see this shop. Earlier I tweeted where we were coming, and the legendary Robert Hum, who knows a thing or two about running a bookshop, said, make sure you go and see the shop. It's really good. I can think of no finer praise.
The Ecclesbourne Valley Railway has come an awfully long way since those dark days of 1990, not long after the last freight train ran. The transformation has been dramatic and impressive, and they're clearly not finished yet. There's more to do, including an impressive new station building currently under construction. Before saying goodbye, I popped down to Idridge Hay one last time, this time by car, so I can see the train arrive and depart. Somehow, this station captures the true essence of the English branch line. Single track, a gated level crossing, a single platform, all in a truly bucolic setting. Beneath the peace and tranquility, though, there's an awful lot of hard work going on that goes into preserving and operating a railway such as the Ecclesbourne Valley Railway. It's a constant battle, with unforeseen challenges seeming around every corner. But the team here, led by the irrepressible Neil Ferguson-Lee, have the tremendous mix of skill, knowledge, passion, enthusiasm, love, and never say die that is required. They deserve to succeed. And for now, it certainly looks like that's exactly what they're doing.